What if I told you that the DNA of Ocean's 11, the swagger, the schemes, the punchlines was brewed not in Vegas but in the foggy backstreets of London? British cinema cracked the code on charming, cocky crooks long before Danny Ocean ever rolled the dice. So have you ever wondered where Hollywood's coolest heist movies stole their style? Stick around, because these 10 British comedies aren't just cult classics, they're the original playbook, with a twist you won't see coming. Entrapment, 1999. Ever heard of a cat burglar with a taste for art, high-tech gadgets, and double crosses as smooth as single malt scotch? Entrapment is often brushed aside as a late 90s caper, but this British-American production laid out blueprints for what a high-stakes heist comedy could be, especially when the criminals are as slick as the security lasers they dodge. It all starts with Gin Baker, played by a fierce Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's got more tricks up her sleeve than a London street magician. She's an insurance investigator who goes undercover to catch Robert Mac McDougal, Sean Connery, in full charming rogue mode. But here's the twist. Gin's just as slippery as her mark, and soon these two are teaming up to outwit, outfox, and, frankly, outcool everyone in their orbit. Picture this: gin-clear rooftop chases, a plan to swipe a priceless Rembrandt, and a training montage that spawned a million memes. Yes, that laser-dodging scene. Every moment is calibrated for maximum tension and cheek. It's not just about breaking into vaults. It's about who can outwit whom, who's holding the real plan, and who will actually get away with the goods. What makes Entrapment so important? Beyond its Bond-tinged casting, it's got that breezy, irreverent British humor, Connery's dry wit, Zeta-Jones's sass, the constant double bluffs that takes the heist genre from cold calculation to a winking, audience-in-on-the-joke thrill ride. The film's European settings, Scotland, London, Malaysia, and gadget-laden sequences keep things globe-trotting, but the core is pure British caper, charm, banter, and the knowledge that everyone's a little bit crooked, but all in good fun. If you ever wondered why Ocean's 11 spends as much time with wisecracks as with blueprints, look no further than the blueprint right here. Entrapment proved you could pull off a world-class heist and look impossibly cool while doing it. All you need is a good suit, a sharper mind, and the guts to dance through the lasers. The Big Job, 1965. How do you make a bank robbery go hilariously wrong and still have the crooks looking like lovable losers? Just ask the crew from The Big Job, a criminally underrated British gem that turned a simple heist into a comedy of errors so wild you'd think the script was written by Murphy's Law itself. The story kicks off in 1950, when a bumbling gang led by Sid James of Carry On fame pulls off what should have been the perfect bank job. The catch? The loot, $50,000 in cash, is hidden in the trunk of a hollow tree for safekeeping until the heat dies down. Only problem? The whole gang gets nabbed, and by the time they're out after 15 years, the world's changed, the money's still buried, and a police station has been built right over their treasure. Now, if you're picturing Ocean's 11-style masterminds with blueprints and lasers, think again. These guys are all charm and no tech, relying on disguise, dumb luck, and a knack for getting into and out of the most ridiculous scrapes. Each attempt to tunnel, break, or sneak their way into the new police station gets more desperate and more hilarious. Add in a nosy landlady and the kind of old-school British banter that's all one-liners and side-eyes, and you've got yourself a heist film where the real crime is how hard you'll be laughing. What sets The Big Job apart is its willingness to let its crooks fail spectacularly. No cool criminals here, just a band of lovable idiots whose plans unravel faster than a cheap wool suit. It's this comic humility that made British heist comedies the secret sauce for later American hits. Ocean's 11 might be all style and swagger, but the heart of the caper, the underdog charm, started with films like this. So next time you see a heist crew get tripped up by their own plans, or the world changing just a little too fast for them, tip your hat to The Big Job, because sometimes the funniest loot isn't what you steal, but how spectacularly you fail trying to steal it. Perfect Friday, 1970. If you think only Americans can pull off a heist with a side of seduction, think again. Perfect Friday is the posh, dry-witted British answer to every sleek, double-cross-laden caper you've ever seen. And it does it all with a stiff upper lip and a wicked smirk. Imagine Ocean's 11, but with less glitz and a lot more gin. That's the vibe. Bank manager Mr. Graham, aka Stanley Baker, is the last person you'd expect to lead a life of crime. He's buttoned up, all business and seemingly resigned to the boredom of his 9-to-5 grind. But underneath that cool exterior, Graham is plotting the perfect robbery. He teams up with the droll and delightfully devious Lady Britt Dorset by Ursula Andress, a bankrupt aristocrat who oozes charm and danger in equal measure, and her no-good husband, Lord Dorset. The plan? Lift a cool £500,000 from Graham's own bank and make it look like someone else did it. What makes Perfect Friday a masterclass in British heist comedy isn't just its intricate plotting, but the delicious sense of irony that runs through every scene. Everyone's scheming, everyone's lying, and you're never quite sure who's conning whom. Baker's understated performance gives the movie a subtle tension, while Andress brings a playful, predatory energy that makes every double cross twice as fun to watch. The film leans into class satire, poking fun at Britain's old money elite and their desperate attempts to stay afloat, literally robbing banks to pay for their lifestyles, but it's all wrapped up in crisp, stylish cinematography and a soundtrack that practically winks at the viewer. By the time the final twist lands, and trust us, you won't see it coming, you'll realize why this movie set the tone for so many heist films that followed. Perfect Friday didn't just inspire Ocean's 11 with its clever plot. It handed Hollywood a lesson in how to steal the show with a raised eyebrow and a conspiratorial smile. So if you like your heist comedies droll, unpredictable, and just a little bit ruthless, this is one Friday you won't want to clock out early on. Gambit, 1966. Who says crime doesn't require a little choreography? Gambit is the ultimate heist movie about making a plan so perfect, so precise, it could be mistaken for a work of art. But in true British fashion, it's the hiccups and the humor that make this caper a classic and a major influence on the smart aleck style of Ocean's 11. The film opens with Harry Dean by Michael Caine at his suave best, a British cat burglar who's hatched a flawless plot to steal a priceless statue from a reclusive, impossibly wealthy Middle Eastern tycoon. His secret weapon? Nicole Chang by Shirley MacLaine, a dance hall girl whose resemblance to the tycoon's late wife is uncanny and absolutely crucial to Harry's plan. The setup? Nicole distracts, Harry nabs the loot, and everyone gets away richer than they ever dreamed. What makes Gambit such a standout is its structure. The first third of the film shows Harry's fantasy of the perfect heist, where everything goes exactly according to plan. No mistakes, no surprises, just cool efficiency. But the reality, that's where the chaos begins. Nothing goes right, the human factor takes over, and suddenly our criminal masterminds are scrambling, improvising, and hoping to stay one step ahead. Caine and MacLaine are magnetic together, turning every mishap into an opportunity for quick banter and even quicker thinking. The comedy doesn't come from slapstick or cheap gags, but from the audaciousness of the plan colliding with the unpredictability of people. It's sharp, sly, and absolutely self-aware. If you watch Ocean's 11 and think, how did they come up with a plan this complicated? Remember Gambit did it first, and with even more flair. The film's blend of meticulous plotting, character-driven humor, and an undercurrent of romance set the template for generations of heist comedies. In the end, Gambit reminds us that even the best plans are only as good as the people pulling the strings. And sometimes, the messiest heists make for the best stories. The Lady Killers, 1955. Who needs muscle when you've got mayhem? The Lady Killers is the granddaddy of British heist comedies, a film so influential and mischievous that even Ocean's 11 tips its hat to the original gang of bumbling crooks with an unlikely plan. The setup is pure brilliance. Professor Marcus by Alec Guinness, all false teeth and wicked grins, rents a room from the sweet but sharp Mrs. Wilberforce by Katie Johnson, claiming he and his associates are musicians. In reality, they're a gang of career criminals plotting to rob a security van carrying a massive cash haul. The plan? Use Mrs. Wilberforce's unsuspecting house as their headquarters, carry out the robbery under her nose, and escape with the loot, all while serenading her with rehearsals upstairs. But as you might guess, nothing goes according to plan. The Lady Killers crew, a motley band including Peter Sellers and Herbert Lom, are hilariously incompetent, with each new problem spiraling into absurdity. What really makes this film tick is the constant battle of wits between the genteel but canny Mrs. Wilberforce and the supposedly brilliant professor. She's more of a match for them than any cop could be. This isn't just a heist film, it's a study in British eccentricity. The humor is sly and dark, blending polite manners with criminal intent, and the dialogue crackles with lines that would make even Danny Ocean jealous. The criminals' plan unravels spectacularly, forcing them to turn on each other in a parade of increasingly ridiculous and sometimes deadly twists. If you want to see where the lovable rogue blueprint was born, look no further. The lady killers perfected the art of the underdog caper, proving that brains beat brawn, and that a gang can be undone not by police, but by one little old lady with a sharp eye and a lot of nerve. Even today, its influence is everywhere. Ensemble casts, mistaken identities, comic betrayals, and that ever-present sense that the master plan is only ever a hair away from collapse. Ocean's 11 might have the flash, but the lady killers had the formula, witty, subversive, and full of surprises. So if you think your next heist will go smoothly, remember, you're always one meddling neighbor away from chaos. Too Many Crooks, 1959. Ever wondered what would happen if the entire heist crew was made up of lovable idiots, each dumber than the last? Too Many Crooks answers that question with a full-throttle, no-holds-barred comedy that takes the classic criminal gang formula and cranks up the chaos to 11. Think Ocean's 11, but if the entire team was made up of the guys you wouldn't trust to break into a vending machine, let alone a bank. The story centers on Fingers, played by the endlessly expressive Terry Thomas, a would-be criminal mastermind with the worst luck in London. He leads a gang of bumbling misfits, each with a specialty, none with a clue, on a plot to kidnap the daughter of a wealthy, miserly businessman named William Gordon. Except in true Murphy's Law fashion, the gang accidentally nabs Gordon's long-suffering wife, Lucy, instead. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a high-stakes ransom heist turns into a wild ride of mistaken identities, escalating threats, and the gang's hilariously inept attempts at negotiation. But the real twist? Lucy, played with gleeful abandon by Brenda de Banzi, is sick of her husband's penny-pinching ways. Rather than panic, she joins forces with her captors, turning the tables and orchestrating a revenge plot so outrageous it leaves everyone, crooks and audience, gasping for breath. What makes Too Many Crooks so essential isn't just its rapid-fire jokes or slapstick timing. It's the sheer joy of watching a criminal plan unravel, not because of outside interference, but due to the utter incompetence of everyone involved. The heist here is less about high-tech gadgets and more about who can mess up fastest and funniest. Sound familiar? Ocean's 11 borrowed this DNA, the ensemble dynamic, the big personalities, the wild pivots when things go sideways, and dressed it up with Vegas flash. But the spirit? It's pure British farce. So if you've ever rooted for the underdog or just love to watch criminals get what's coming to them in the silliest way possible, Too Many Crooks is the original playbook. Sometimes the biggest laughs come from the most botched jobs. A Fish Called Wanda, 1988. Some heist comedies are all about the loot. A Fish Called Wanda is about the backstabbing, the double crosses, and the downright lunacy that unfolds when everyone on the team wants to walk away with the whole score and no one knows who to trust. It's as if the entire Ocean's 11 crew went rogue and decided the real fun was in outfoxing each other, not the casino. The film kicks off with a jewel heist so slick it would make Danny Ocean jealous, until it goes sideways in the most spectacularly British way. Wanda, by Jamie Lee Curtis, is the brains and the beauty, a con artist who switches allegiances more often than her outfits. Otto, by Kevin Kline, her gun-toting philosopher boyfriend, is equal parts dangerous and deranged, providing comic relief and real menace in one unpredictable package. Rounding out the gang are Ken by Michael Palin, the stuttering animal lover with a dark side, and George by Tom Georgeson, the inside man whose trust is misplaced at every turn. As soon as the loot's in hand, the betrayals begin. Wanda seduces, Otto bullies, Ken bungles, and the whole scheme spins out of control, especially once Archie Leach, aka John Cleese, an uptight British barrister, stumbles into the crossfire and finds himself wrapped up in the madness. What follows is part screwball comedy, part battle of wits, and part farce so outrageous it shocked and delighted audiences worldwide. The genius of A Fish Called Wanda lies in its willingness to break the rules. There's no honor among these thieves, only shifting alliances, outrageous deceptions, and one-upmanship that's equal parts cruel and hilarious. The laughs come fast, the plot twists faster, and the film isn't afraid to get a little dirty in the name of comedy. And yet, at its heart, there's an affectionate nod to the classic caper. Everyone's scheming, everyone's got an angle, and the only guarantee is that someone, probably everyone, is about to get played. Ocean's 11 might have brought the style, but a fish called Wanda brought the bite. If you crave your heists with a side of wild unpredictability and characters you can't help but root for, even as they double-cross each other, this is the comedy that set the bar. The League of Gentlemen, 1960. Before George Clooney's Danny Ocean was even a glimmer in Hollywood's eye, there was Norman Hyde, ex-military, down on his luck, and ready to assemble the most unconventional gang ever to crack a British safe. The League of Gentlemen is the heist comedy for anyone who believes there's honor among thieves, or at least among those clever enough to plan it that way. It all begins with Hyde, played with icy cool by Jack Hawkins, who's been tossed aside by the military after years of faithful service. Bitter and brilliant, he handpicks a team of ex-army men, each with their own baggage, to pull off the perfect bank robbery. The plan? Meticulously orchestrated, with every role assigned like a military maneuver, driver, lookout, demolition. The works? The twist? None of these men are actual criminals. They're soldiers, using their unique skills to pull off a job that promises dignity, excitement, and of course, a big payday. But where the film truly shines is in its character-driven comedy. Each member of the gang is equal parts competent and deeply flawed, their civilian misadventures providing endless opportunities for dry wit and classic British understatement. The team's rehearsal scenes are hilarious, turning tactical drills into farce as they struggle to shed their by-the-book habits and think like real criminals. As the heist unfolds, the stakes climb and the tension mounts, but the laughs never stop. It's a razor-sharp satire on British society, class divisions, post-war malaise, and the absurdities of authority, all wrapped up in a clockwork plot that keeps you guessing until the very end. Sound familiar? Ocean's 11 borrowed the ensemble approach, the carefully planned operation, and the sense of camaraderie laced with suspicion. But the League of Gentlemen brought the blueprints, and plenty of black humor. In the end, it's not just about the money, it's about one last chance at glory. And as these gentlemen discover, pulling off the perfect crime is a lot harder than it looks, even with military precision. The Lavender Hill Mob, 1951. Before Hollywood even knew how to spell heist, Ealing Studios delivered a masterclass in British criminal comedy with The Lavender Hill Mob. This is the film that made ordinary folks dream about robbing a bank, then made them laugh at how gloriously messy it could get. Henry Holland, Alec Guinness, in a role so sly it ought to come with a warning, is a meek, mousy bank clerk whose job is to oversee the delivery of gold bullion. For decades, he's been the picture of reliability, so much so that no one suspects the wheels are spinning behind those wire-rimmed spectacles. Enter Alfred Pendlebury, Stanley Holloway, a daydreaming artist with a taste for excitement and a knack for melting things down. Together, these two hatch a plot so audacious and so, well, British. You can practically hear the teapots rattling in the background. The plan? Steal a fortune in gold bars and smuggle them out of the country disguised as tourist trinkets, Eiffel Tower paperweights no less. Holland and Pendlebury recruit a couple of small-time crooks, charm their way across Europe, and get further than any everyman gang has a right to go. But this is no Ocean's 11-style smooth ride. Every step brings fresh chaos, language barriers, missed trains, suspicious customs agents, and best of all, a bumbling police force that's always one teacup behind. What sets the Lavender Hill Mob apart isn't just its cleverness. It's the way it roots for its heroes, ordinary men who become extraordinary thieves, not for greed, but for the sheer thrill of pulling off the impossible. And just when you think they might get away clean, the universe, and British bureaucracy, delivers the perfect punchline. The DNA of Ocean's 11 is right here. The ensemble, the plan, the sense of style, and the undercurrent that every crook is just an amateur with better luck. The Lavender Hill Mob proves you don't need Vegas lights to stage a caper for the ages, just a bit of courage, a pinch of mischief, and the right friends to laugh with when it all goes sideways. The Italian Job, 1969. Now we arrive at the crown jewel, the film that redefined the heist genre on both sides of the Atlantic. The Italian Job isn't just a British comedy classic. It's the source code for every slick, big-cast caper that followed. From Ocean's 11 to any film that thinks a well-dressed crew and a fleet of getaway cars is enough to outsmart the world. Meet Charlie Croker, played by Michael Caine, radiating swagger, fresh out of prison, and ready to take over the job of a lifetime. His target? A convoy carrying $4 million worth of gold through the teeming streets of Turin. The plan is devilishly simple. Cause the world's greatest traffic jam, then make off with the gold in a choreographed ballet of Mini Coopers darting through the city. The catch? Every move is being watched, not just by the Italian police, but by the mafia, and one false step could turn the whole affair into an international incident. From the opening sequence to the final cliffhanger, pun fully intended, The Italian Job is a riot of invention, color, and chaos. The film's stunts, impossibly nimble cars racing down staircases, across rooftops, and even through a sewer, became iconic overnight. Add in a killer soundtrack, that Quincy Jones score, a cast of scene-stealing rogues, and some of the sharpest dialogue ever delivered in a British accent, and you've got the blueprint for a new kind of heist movie. But underneath all the bravado is a celebration of camaraderie, ingenuity, and British pluck. There's a reason Ocean's 11 pays such obvious homage. Assembling the team, the rehearsals, the banter, the high-stakes last-minute improvisations. Even the humor, both dry and outrageous, owes its spark to this caper, and when Caine barks, "You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off," you know you're witnessing cinematic history. The Italian Job didn't just inspire a generation of heist films, it made them fun, unpredictable, and stylish. It proved that the best plans come with a twist and a punchline. So next time you root for Danny Ocean and his gang, tip your cap to Charlie Croker and the original crew that made crime look like the most entertaining game in town. So, who needs Vegas when Britain's been pulling off stylish, laugh-out-loud heists for decades? These films didn't just inspire Ocean's 11, they rewrote the rules for every comedy caper that followed. Which British heist comedy would you join if you had the chance? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more movie deep dives. Until next time, keep your plans clever, your crew loyal, and remember, it's not the loot, it's how you steal the show.